blood of the Messiah is flowing.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining us in the SOS-radio.com podcast. My name is Jason Knight, president and founder of Chicago's own Supernatural Occurrence Studies, and your host into the unknown. As always, I'm joined by my fellow SOSers and my brothers in arms, Mr. Joe Erie. Say hello.
Hey, guys.
Mr. Oscar Spector, the dirty wizard of movie references. Oscar, shout hello.
I'm shouting hello.
And back joining us is the one and only, the mouth of the Midwest, Dave Black. Back fresh from his produce gathering in Florida.
Hello.
He wasn't with us last weekend. It was a quiet podcast.
I was in Florida.
How was the Florida trip?
Oh, it was great. The meth is terrific down there.
No fruit police this time, right?
No fruit police. We avoided the fruit police. We actually had to skirt around a border crossing and go a different way. We felt like coyotes, you know? Like we were smuggling millions of illegals over the border.
All right, that's great. Welcome back.
Except they were fruits, not people.
Welcome back. Yeah, you brought me a whole bag of kumquats. I was very appreciative.
Grapefruit and stuff in there, too.
But I really gravitated towards the kumquats.
I appreciate that.
And I as well.
Yeah, they were delicious.
This is a really special podcast for us, guys. This is our first on-location podcast. We took the podcast on the road, as we said we would do, and we are actually at a haunted recording studio, Riverpool Studios, on the far northwest side of Chicago. And joining us, we also have some special guests. Joe Erie's father, Mr. Mario Erie, and his fellow bandmate, a psychic by the name of Jory. Hello, Jory. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Good
Mr. Erie, thank you for having us.
I've never been Erie before, but, you know, this is the kind of program we could get Erie on.
We could get Erie. Everyone knows we use pseudonyms for this podcast.
Yes, we do.
And again, we're here at Riverpool Studios, and the band that Jory belongs to, along with Mr. Erie, is the Pond Hawks. And it's kind of a famous haunted studio here on the northwest side where we get into some really creepy stories that take place here. We have,
and that's just the music, you know. And that's just the music, man.
Yeah, we will get into Jory and Mr. Erie later in the show. They have some really great stories. As I mentioned, Jory is a psychic who is going to wow us with some of her stories. But before we get into everything, we have to do a recap of the last episode. The last episode when we did the Charlie Charlie Challenge and the Ouija Board on air. For those of you who listened to that podcast, you'll know that towards the end, we had some technical glitches. Something strange went on, and Oscar Spector kind of explained to you through his editing process what took place. But it needs to be revisited. We need to talk about that, because people are probably wondering what the hell happened during that episode. Why did it get cut off that way? So let me set the stage. Second half of the podcast, we were doing the Ouija Board live. Joe Erie and Katie Knight were on the Ouija Board. They gave it 2 tries. First try we caught on tape. We got it on audio for the podcast. As they were doing the second attempt at the Ouija Board, I started hearing this strange crackling reverb coming from somewhere in the room. And I turned to Oscar Spector and I said, "Are you catching that? Do you hear this crackling, this reverb?" And he said he didn't. He was watching his recording software. There was no movements in the pulse of our voices, no strange pulses in the recording. He was watching it live. But yet I was hearing this reverb. And when it came to actually listen and edit the podcast, that entire last session of the Ouija board somehow was gone. It was erased. Joe, could you set up what was happening between you and Katie Knight?
Basically, when I'm kind of provoking or asking questions, I started getting a feeling something was getting drawn towards me. I felt something there,
I remember you were saying, and of course the audience didn't hear this, but you were saying, okay, I got it now.
Yeah.
I'm feeling you now. And you were saying it was coming in and coming out, coming in and coming out.
I felt it. It would go away. Then it would come again. Like, oh, I'm starting to get something. And then it would go away. Almost like fishing. Like, for an example, you take a line, shoot it out there, your line's drawn. All of a sudden, your bobber's going up and down. Something's nibbling, but it's not biting yet. So something's there. It's kind of like what I got. I knew something was there. It just didn't bite yet.
Yeah, and at that same time is when I was hearing that crackling. That distortion.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was coming from Oscar's headphones or his gear, but it wasn't. It was coming from somewhere in that room where we were, in the garage where we were.
Mm-hmm. Personally, my belief with Ouija boards is I don't believe them, but I believe if you're talking about something, you're talking about spirits, you're bringing whatever closer to you. So, yeah, you're messing around with the Ouija board, but in reality, you're bringing something like to you. Like whether if you're in a haunted location, you're talking about it, it knows that you know. So it's not the Ouija board bringing it; you're actually bringing it, and it knows that you know. So you're the one that drew it in. But the weird thing about it,
it's kind of like when you're passing like a crazy person on the street. And you're like, I better not make eye contact.
Don't make eye contact.
And then you do, and then they come right over to you, and you're like, oh, great.
Well, that's exactly how he was described. Like, it was toying with them. It was coming and going and coming and going. And then the reverb. And it actually, I'm not going to say the Ouija board worked to some phenomenal level, like, oh, my God. But you were asking these questions. Are you afraid of someone here? Is someone here blocking you? Who are you afraid of? And the planchette actually moved to what letter?
Was it R or F? It was
F was one of them.
But I wasn't R one?
S.
Wait, yeah.
S for Sue, my mom.
Yeah.
Sue Nhyte, who is vehemently against it, actually insisted being included in that podcast to protect us because she is so against the Ouija board. She didn't want anything to happen to us. So when you're asking, are you afraid of someone? Someone here stopping you. What are you afraid of? Who are you afraid of? That planchette, while you and Katie were using it, moved to S.
It didn't move dramatically right away, but it did move.
It did move.
Mm-hmm.
Later, you were asking something about the property, or is there someone here close to the property or attached to the property? And that's the second time the planchette moved.
To
F.
To Frank, was it?
And so after you and Katie stopped the session, after you said goodbye, pulled down to goodbye,
Frank
flipped the planchette.
Was the previous owner that died.
That's correct. So in November, someone very close, I'm not going to say the last name out of respect for the family, but someone very closely associated with my property passed away. And I was all torn up about it, and I couldn't make the funeral the wake because I was trapped. I was stuck in New Jersey because of Hurricane Joaquin. So I couldn't make it home. So F does have significance, F being Frank, who had just recently died, and was also very closely associated to my property. So it wasn't anything super dramatic, Dave. I know you're a skeptic. I get that. But it did have some significance somewhere, which is kind of odd.
There is something
let Joe finish.
There is something crazy that happened.
Go ahead. Yeah,
and I don't believe in the Ouija boards, okay? There was a significance with 3 we talked about. Father, Son, Holy Spirit, and also, too, to mock the Holy Trinity.
To mock the Trinity, yeah.
You could listen to the previous podcast. But I'm going to backtrack a little bit.
It's okay.
So we were talking about the 3s, okay? Later on that morning, I left on my way home, back to Chicago. I went to go grab my phone to, I'm gonna make a few phone calls.
The next day, because you slept over, right? Because
it
was like 4:30 in the morning when we finally concluded.
Yeah, I passed out.
I wouldn't let you bring the Ouija board in the house.
Who was Small Spoon?
I was a small spoon.
Oh, okay.
I wouldn't let you bring the Ouija board in the house. I refused. You stuck it in your truck.
Yeah, I put it in my truck right away. Okay. So anyway, I'm on my way home. Grab my phone and make a phone call. I look, my phone's on. You know how you butt dial people?
Yeah.
I butt texted, okay? Or I butt text.
Yeah.
Okay? So, and I'm like, the hell? But it said something. I'm like, what? It said Ouija in Ouija. And I'm like,
that's right.
Oh, I'm like, whoa, wait, what?
Yes.
And the more I looked at it, the more I realized It said like Ouija and Ouija. It wasn't spelled perfect.
It's true.
But it was pretty specific, and it kind of freaked me out. And then I looked back in my back seat, and I had the Ouija board on me, and I'm like,
You forgot what was back there.
Yeah.
It was like the Ouija was, whatever came through was still there, reminding you, hey,
yeah.
I'm back
And I was
there.
like, oh, great. I'm like, this just has to be a coincidence. This is weird. It was really weird, okay?
Yeah.
But that happened. But then the following 2 days, I'm going back to the mocking of the Holy Trinity and Father, Son, Holy Spirit. The trace, the three.
3 marks, 3 scratches, 3 knocks, yeah.
Basically, every night, me and my wife would hear 3 knocks on the window. Like, what? And I'm like, what the hell is that?
See, that's why I didn't want to do that Ouija board, man.
Yeah, the first night.
If you hear 3 knocks on the ceiling, it means that you want him.
Oh, well, what happens if it was underneath the bed?
If it's twice on the pipe, the answer is no.
It usually means Tony Orlando's in the room.
Go ahead, continue.
But the first night, I kept on hearing those bangs, the 3 knocks. It was 1, 2, 3. And I'm like, oh man, didn't think anything of it really, but it was weird. Okay, the second night, I kept on hearing it, and my wife, she's like, Joe, what the hell is that? And I'm like, you hear that too? So I wasn't crazy.
Right.
I'm going to throw this out
what
there.
What do you think it was?
I don't know, but it just made me go back to the 3s.
As you know, I always try to be rational about things, so I'm just going to go ahead and throw this out there. Raccoon with OCD.
Obviously. I mean, completely.
On the north side. Yeah.
So you guys were asking the questions. You concluded. You got the S. You got the F. We were hearing that crackling, that reverb. You ended the session properly.
Yes.
As we were taught to do so long ago. But yet, when you went to export and edit that file, that entire last session, when you were saying you were feeling it the strongest, the coming and going, the pulsing, that waving feeling, that, to use your analogy, the bobber in the water.
All the recording was lost.
Recording was gone. So I'm not saying the Ouija board caused the recording to be erased. I'm not saying a spirit caused the recording. It was just really odd. It hasn't happened to us before. So I just felt that really needed an explanation for the listeners, because so many people have written the website asking our thoughts on the Ouija board. Have we done the Ouija board? What do we think of the Ouija board? I felt that needed addressing. So, Dave, I'm curious to know, what are your opinions of the Ouija board? Spiritual contact mediums like a Ouija board.
Well, I don't have that much of an opinion on it, because I've kind of always just discounted it as a game. As it's like stiff as a feather, light as a board. It's it's like
which works, by the way. I've done that too.
It's a party
and
game.
It really does work.
But it's in the same way. It's like a psychosomatic thing where if enough people are kind of focusing on the same thing, you're kind of going to manifest stuff, whether actually physically manifesting some sort of supernatural response or a psychic response or telepathic response, something to that effect, or if it's just kind of a collective, like everyone, kind of like a mass hysteria thing,
Yeah.
where, you hear stories of everyone seeing, in a certain town, like all of them are seeing the same kind of, a beast in the woods or Bigfoot or whatever it is, and everyone seems to be seeing this same thing, a Loch Ness monster or whatever. And at a certain point, it's just that this imagery gets out there so much that everyone kind of buys into it, even if they're not really buying into it. So everyone kind of begins to see the same thing, even though they might all be seeing different things. It's kind of the same situation when there's a crime that happens, and people will all describe the suspect in different ways, and they'll get all these different versions of the suspect. But then when it gets out into the media, that a certain description of the suspect then becomes everyone's description of the suspect. It's like everyone's influenced.
Like a self-fulfilling prophecy?
Yeah, it's basically like, he was wearing a red hat. No, I think it was an orange hat. No, it was a red hat. And then the media says it was a red hat, and then everyone's like, okay, yeah, it was a red hat. Like, even if the media is not correct.
Maybe he didn't even have a hat.
Right. And it's just one of those things. When you put enough people together in a certain place under a certain mindset, they're going to kind of work together to come up with the same conclusion. If that makes sense.
Yep. Have you ever tried the Ouija board yourself?
Yeah. I play with Ouija boards and stuff.
And what happened?
Younger.
Anything?
Well, it's like, even when I was like 10 or 12 years old playing with it, it's like, regardless of who you're playing with it, you're like, you're moving it. You're moving it. No, you're moving it.
Right.
No, you're moving it. And the truth of the matter is you're both moving it because you got your fingers on it, and regardless of what you think is happening, like, you're both, you're moving it. You're doing it.
Sure, and that's
even if you don't realize that you're doing it.
It's a fair statement, and some would side with you. Some would say you're completely wrong. For example, the psychic sitting in the room, Jory, who I'm kind of starstruck by, actually, because not only is she a psychic, she's also a musician.
She knew you were going to say that, too.
I think she did. She was cute. She gave me that look. Not only is she a psychic, and she's also a musician, and she's a professional photographer who works with none other than Sir Paul McCartney. She has photographed on numerous occasions Sir Paul McCartney. I would love to hear about that, as I'm sure our listeners would. Jory, you were sitting there shaking your head as Dave was talking.
I just want to throw this out there. I've met Dave Coulier and Bob Saget. So.
And this is the same thing with Mario Erie. He has, and we'll get into him. He's been in movies.
It's the Erie thing.
He's done comedy. He's so I feel like I'm among stars here as well. Ooh. So Jory, why were you shaking your head when Dave was explaining his perception of?
But that's okay. I mean, Dave is obviously not psychic, so that's his opinion. But I started out quite young with a Ouija board because everybody did. It was like a game. You played the game. But I had to warn people that it can be a portal.
I couldn't agree more. I do agree with you.
Yes, and the Ouija board I had was really good because we'd ask questions. At that time, my brother was going to go to medical school, and I remember we're asking the Ouija board, what medical school? And it gives us one name, and then it gives us another name. And I'm like, well, how could that be? He's only going to go to one school. Well, he wound up going to the first one, dropped out, and went to the other one. Now, how do you explain that? Okay.
Right. And
another time, Ouija board, crazy things, but I had lost my watch. Okay. So, and I actually would use the Ouija board myself. Okay.
We've all seen The Exorcist. We know that's not a good idea.
But this was the thing. This was the really weird thing. Okay, so like, where is it? So it's like, moving, and it's sort of going up the wall, and it gets on my windowsill and starts pointing outside like this, like that. And I'm like, well, what could that be? Why is it doing that?
Was that the planchette doing that?
The thing, yeah. It was
planchette.
Just doing this, and a day or two later, I went outside because where my window was the backyard. And I walked out there, and we had like a little shed there. And I happened to walk by, and my watch was sitting on top of the shed, right outside where the pointer was pointing.
Wow. So how do you explain that one?
I don't. So
did you leave the watch there, or did it?
I don't
show up there on its own?
I mean, why would I put it out? It was just weird. It was gone. But see, that's the thing I want to talk about. Okay. My friend would come over and we would work on the Ouija board and be in the living room, and there was a lot of stuff, like scissors, knives, things missing. After a while, things were just starting to disappear in the house, and you would hear noises, and like you were not alone. And I remember we were playing with the Ouija board, and across from the living room is the kitchen there. And one of the kitchen chairs lifted up off the floor and just crashed.
Oh.
And that's when I said, that's it. I'm not doing this anymore.
And how old were you?
I think I was like 15 or so.
15.
So took the Ouija board, threw it in the garbage can, saw the guy take it away in the garbage truck.
Let me guess. Came back.
10 years later, I go in the attic. And it's in the attic.
You know how many stories I've heard? The exact same thing. They get rid of it, but somehow, later on down the line, they stumble upon it. Whether they're moving,
I swear I tossed
cleaning.
it. I swear we threw it away.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Now, I saw them take it, but the thing is, I think the Ouija board knows where I stand here. So there's been no problems, and there won't be any problems. So.
I've used it tons of times, especially in my younger years, and I don't think I've ever had a positive experience. You know, you said your brother's, what college he's going, what medical school, and he told him that I've never had a positive experience. I've always had a very negative experience with the Ouija board, and that's why last episode I refused to do it. Oscar refused to do it.
What I would like to see is a controlled experiment where you have two strangers that know nothing about the people in
and
the
we
room.
could easily arrange that for the show.
Okay, so we get two strangers, completely unrelated, don't know anything about the other people in the room, using the Ouija board, asking questions about other people in the room that are not touching.
Absolutely, we could
call.
completely arrange that for the show. Definitely.
Because I guarantee, if you put into that situation, nothing that they come up with is going to make any sense.
And if it does, what would you say?
I would probably remove some of my skepticism about it.
Okay.
But
Well, let's-
I would almost guarantee.
Let's put that on
It's
the
perfect
to-do.
for another show.
Let's
I
put
would
that on the
almost
to-do list.
guarantee that there is not going to be any correlation between what comes up on that board.
You may be right.
Because
You may be surprised.
I feel like even if the Ouija board is,
I think
what
we're
people
more
think
than
it
Ouija
is.
boards ourselves. Our
I
energy
still
in
think
ourselves.
somebody connected to the people being asked questions about need to be touching the board.
Well, we could really what if this to death for the next 2 hours.
I have a ghost story about the Ouija board, though.
And
The first apparition that I saw.
okay, really quick.
Okay,
Yeah.
I was downstate, and I was at one of these.
Downstate Illinois.
Yeah, downstate Illinois, and there was they had something for high school students, that were exceptional in painting and stuff. And for 1 week, I was down in Allerton Park, and the house is haunted there. Okay, but I didn't know that till I walked in there, and they put us girls in this room that was like, I don't know, 20 feet long, and I thought, you know what, this place is haunted. Let's see if we can get the ghost of Robert Allerton to come. Okay, so it was a great night. It was like storming, lightning and everything. And I made a Ouija board out of cardboard. And I put it on the floor, and there were like 10 of us, and we sat in a circle. And I sort of fashioned a candle from some wax, and I put it in a pop bottle, and we lit the candle, and put the lights off, and I said, okay, I'm calling the spirit of Robert Allerton, and nothing happens, and we're waiting, and I said, if you're here, flicker the candle 3 times. So I would say, like, within a minute, it does 3 times. And then I'm looking at people, are you breathing on that? Because we're in a circle. But when nobody's near enough, and I said, okay, do it again. And it flickers 3 times. So now I said, okay, can you do something to prove that you're here, but don't come near us or touch us or, And as soon as I said that, the lights went on in the room.
No.
Okay, so now the light switch is all the 20 feet away down by the door. And there's no way the light switch, there's nobody there. So, of course, there were like, 10 girls screaming, so they were like, what's going on? It was a mouse or something. So what happened was we went back in the room again, turned on off the lights, made sure nobody was around, and we went through the whole sequence again. Okay, the candle again, flickered. And I said, okay, now do something. Don't come near us, whatever. And I'm sitting in this circle, and there's somebody in front of me, and she looks past me, and her face, like, turns white, and everybody goes, ugh. So now I'm like, I don't want to turn around, because everybody's, like, freaking out.
Right.
And behind me was the doorway. So when I turned around, I looked at the door, there was this floating thing. It was, you could see, like, an outline of the head. It was kind of like a slate gray, and you could see shoulders. It was hovering in front of the door, and when you looked down at the floor, it was like smoke going under the door.
Wow.
Because there was a light in the hall, so it was lighting up the bottom of the door, And, of course, now we couldn't get out because it was in front of the door. So we just, sat there, and it just finally dissipated. But we all saw it. And
we call that trace energy, ectoplasm, the stuff ghosts are made of. So do you think that homemade, Joe, right,
Wow.
from the stories from last episode, with that homemade Ouija board, do you think that's what channeled that energy?
No, I think the ghost was having a good time with us because I
Just
remember,
spooking a bunch of girls.
we had a tour of that place, and I remember walking into the library there, and there was a tour guide, and I said to her, I says, "This place is haunted," and she says, "Yes, this is the most haunted room in the place." And she showed us downstairs there was a wine cellar, and it locked, bolted, and they said, "Oh, he used that for his wine. Of course, nothing's there now, so it's locked." Well, that next day I went downstairs, and the door was open in the wine cellar. It was unlocked, and I heard footsteps in there.
Yeah.
And I went in there, and it was just a small room like this, and there was nothing in there. Nobody in there.
Wow.
Yeah, if you listen to our previous podcast, we actually had a story with a homemade Ouija board.
Yeah, I encourage all the listeners now, go back to episode 6, Charlie Challenge and live Ouija board, and hear what Joe's talking about. It's an incredibly intense story. And I asked to quickly summarize that story because I want to give you your own dedicated time. I have questions for you. Our listeners are going to want to know. I just wanted to kind of wrap up the Ouija board part. It deserved an explanation from what happened with the last episode. So I think we could close that out now. Joe, do you have any final comments about the last episode?
No, I guess moving forward we could speak to my dad, Mario.
We will. Yeah, absolutely. I want to do a recap of the last 2 weeks.
Okay.
The Mr. Lincoln report, in other words. We actually had something happen over the last 2 weeks since the last podcast, episode 6, and it happened to my daughter, who also sees Mr. Lincoln now, who is the reason why I started this podcast, to throw light on this entity and entities like him, to try to do away with them. As I said in the first podcast, once it started affecting my daughter, it became personal. I've been dealing with it for the past 10 years, but once it started affecting my daughter, Talia Nhyte, that's when it was a problem. So everything's been quiet. People could listen to the last episodes of this podcast. I haven't really had anything happen with Mr. Lincoln. Last week, my wife went, I was out of town, and my wife went to pick up my daughter from school, came back home. My son was with my wife. My daughter was with my wife. Talia walked into the house first, came running back outside, said, "Who's in the dining room?" Katie's like, "There's nobody in the dining room. House is empty." Talia said, "There was somebody standing in the dining room. I don't know who he is." Don't know what that was.
Wow.
So I don't know if that's Mr. Lincoln
I would
kind of
recommend-
coming back or what, but
I would recommend burning your house to the ground.
I think it's a bad idea. I don't know if you heard, though. You were gone and you haven't listened to the last podcast. Talia actually captured a really intriguing photo on our vacation.
You sent me the picture of it. I couldn't really see it on my phone.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to show it to you again. So, in other words, she has what my ma has, what my aunt had, what my grandmother had, what my great-grandmother had. I'm convinced. So I think Mr. Lincoln made an appearance to her last week.
Something about...
That's my story on the Mr. Lincoln report.
Is it possible she might have her own personal Mr. Lincoln?
I hope to God not, because it's not a fun thing. It really does affect you. It affects your mind. It affects your sleep. It affects your mood. It affects everyone around you.
Yeah, my son
it's
had
just a nasty thing.
What if your entity, like, instead of looking like an ominous Abraham Lincoln, it looks like a Gene Shalit with a clown horn?
That would be kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean,
But it
would be, like,
doesn't.
fun.
That's the thing. It's this tall, skinny, black mass, long arms, and a freaking hat. That's what I see.
My son had an experience, too.
Yeah, tell me about it. You
And
showed me a really
might
wild
as well.
picture of your son.
Yeah.
And actually, your father.
Well, my mom mentioned a couple of things to me, and she didn't want to tell me because she didn't want to freak me out.
Right.
But she said that Joey heard a couple of things, and we were talking about, the supernatural, and she thought that he might have what I had. She backtracked and gave me a photo of his baptism.
Yeah, how many years ago, Joe?
Oh, my God. I mean, it had been like, 12 years ago?
Probably 12 and a half years ago.
12 years
probably.
ago.
Yeah. He just turned 13, so probably about
13,
12 and a half
12
years
years ago. And there is ectoplasmic mist shooting at him.
It's like a huge
to his
vortex.
forehead.
Yeah.
Yep. 3 different mists like shoot. It's crazy, and I'm like
Right through the middle of the photo too, not in the edges or anything like that, where someone could have been. It's dead center, and it starts in the center and ends in the center at your son.
Yes,
and Mario was in the photo, and who was the woman in the photo?
My mind was blown, huh?
Who was the woman in the photo?
Oh, it was my ex-wife's mom.
Okay,
and my father.
Okay, so grandma and grandpa in the photo.
Yes, it is. I mean, he's a child. Energy is driven towards, that youthful energy. I got pictures myself when I was younger.
That's what it reminded me of right away. The photos I've seen of you and your sister when you guys were young looked like the same exact thing.
Yes.
So we were talking in a few podcasts already about the hereditary nature, hereditary nature of this gift, curse, whatever you want to call it.
Whatever you want to call it.
And it seems maybe
that I passed it on to him. My mind was blown. I'm like, are you serious? I've never seen this before. Oh, I never wanted to scare you. Or blah, blah. Okay. She's like, Joey was hearing a couple of things recently. He's in the room alone. He heard some voices. But he's like, Joe, something that kind of scared the crap out of me was... I'm sitting in my room. I normally don't think about ghosts and stuff, but I was thinking about ghosts, and he had a question in his head. Whatever he was thinking. My grandfather lives at my parents' house. My parents take care of my grandfather. He has Alzheimer's and he had a stroke. So basically, he's like a giant child. Okay.
Okay.
He comes in and out of what's going on, but he. My kid's thinking something in his head, and all of a sudden, my grandpa answers him.
Out loud?
Out loud. And Joey's like, huh? It scared the crap out of him.
That would freak me out, too.
It scared the crap out of him. And he called his friend. He's like, oh, my God, I can't believe what just happened. He's like, I was thinking something, and my grandpa, he read my mind. And I was and I remember we were talking about this with Alzheimer's.
Yeah, we were before
yesterday. So
last time this podcast. Yeah,
I was talking to this lady at work. I was telling her a story because we bounce back and forth. Her grandfather has Alzheimer's, and the grandfather every once in a while is like, "Yeah, that guy over there, he keeps on looking at me weird," and it's like, "Grandpa, there's nobody over there,"
right?
And he'll be hanging out with them, and he'll be blurting stuff out like. But when he's by himself, it's one word or 2 word answer, yes, over there. It's a completely different type of talk, almost where somebody's asking him questions and he's answering.
Wow.
But which almost kind of where I'm getting at is when you're a kid and that barrier is broken, you don't have a barrier.
Yeah.
You don't thought of a good analogy for this.
What?
Did you see the newer Superman movie?
No.
Which one? Where Zod, when the aliens, when the Superman aliens, the General Zod came to Earth, they had to wear this mask thing to block out all the noise and stuff. And when they weren't wearing the mask, all the different noises and sounds and things would come at them and confuse them and make their brain freak out. And I feel like most people have developed a filter to shut out all outside information.
Yeah, we have that barrier and filter.
Yeah,
exactly.
And I think when people are in an altered state of mind, whether they're a child or whether they're Alzheimer's or dementia,
when you're
whatever,
old, you go back
that
to being a
filter's
child.
no longer there anymore.
Right.
So
it's like one part of the brain shuts down, the other one opens back.
And
up.
that's where I was getting at.
Pick up all kinds of crazy things.
It's really interesting. So you got to keep an eye on your son, see what else he experiences.
No, I know.
It's pretty interesting.
I just want to throw that out there. They'll be for another podcast. But
absolutely.
It's kind of a cool story.
No, we always like to do this recap, right? Mm-hmm. So, of the last 2 weeks, Dave, anything interesting happened to you on your trip down to Florida?
Not really. Mainly
experiences or weird experiences?
Mainly just because we were just running the whole time and pretty exhausted. So, a lot of very good sleep. There's nothing like riding around all day looking for fruit from wherever you can get it, loading up a van with 500 or 1,000 pounds, hauling stuff over your back through a field, and then just getting into a hotel room and getting a nice cozy bed and just crashing the hell out for
No, nothing better.
9 hours and waking up in the morning and going and doing it all over again.
I understand.
Although one fun experience I did have, we were in the Everglades. We took a day off to check out the Everglades, and we were checking out this road at night through an Indian reservation in the Everglades, and it's really cool because they've built the roads so the water can still flow. So every 100 feet or so, there's like a viaduct that goes under the road.
Okay.
So you can get out with a flashlight at night. Not only can you see every single star in the sky, but you can look into the water and see like it's like looking into an aquarium. There's like gar and bass and even like wild oscars and plecostomus. It's like literally looking into
we have
a
a
fish
wild
tank.
Oscar.
Yeah. And just and alligators and turtles and all kinds of stuff.
That's really cool.
So we were doing that, and it was like probably about midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, and we're miles away from civilization. I'm like, we don't have a hotel room. We're done looking at animals. Let's get out of here and go find a room to sleep for the night. So we got onto Route 41, which is like Alligator Alley, goes right through the Everglades. We're heading west, driving along at 60 miles an hour, and for a second, I'm like, something better not be in the road. Because if there's something in the road right now, it's not going to be very good because I have 2,000 pounds of fruit in this van. And then, wouldn't you know it, just at the tip of my headlights, big, huge black mass in the middle of the road.
What was it?
It was an alligator. It was a 7-foot
Whoa.
alligator right in the middle of the lane. And I slammed on the brakes, and I'm driving a church van, an E350 Ford Super Duty XLT.
Wow. How many miles a gallon?
3,000-pound van. It gets 15 miles a gallon. It's
Oh,
not
wow.
too bad.
My Durango was worse than that.
So that van probably weighed 3 or 4 tons at the time. So I slam on the brakes and swerve around. I don't hit it, but I swear that the van like tipped up on one side and like fell back down onto the pavement.
Oh, my God.
But the alligator, my immediate instinct was like, we need to turn around and look at this alligator and then get it the hell off the road so somebody else doesn't nail it. It had already been clipped in the head. So its head was smashed. And it was like sitting in a pool of its own blood, but it was still moving and kicking and breathing.
Where are we going with this
And
podcast?
I dragged it
This
off.
is horrible.
I dragged it off the road with my bare hands. And then I like called 911 and like somebody might want to come out here and finish this thing off because I'm certainly not going to kill an alligator with my pocket knife. Right
No,
now.
okay, all right. Okay, so nothing paranormal happened to you over
But
your
nothing paranormal happened.
trip.
But that was
now that everyone's depressed and brought down.
That
Thank
was
you.
a very intense situation to experience.
That is
it's one of those-
insane. Only
one of
you.
those
Only
near-
you that
one
would
of
happen
those
to.
near-death experiences where, like, because you think about it, like, well, what would have happened if I hit a 7-foot alligator in the like? Would that have
with 5 tons of
right? Would that
machinery.
have flipped over my van, or would it have just gotten stuck under it, or like what would have happened there?
I don't want to know. But let's talk about how you said to yourself, "I hope there's nothing in this road." And a split second later, there's something in that road. What's
Yeah.
that about?
Was
that a premonition?
I was probably mentally prepared for it because for a second when I saw it, I thought I was imagining it. Like I thought it was just like, and then snapped into reality. I'm like, okay. I was actually very surprised that I was able to react that well and not roll us over.
I'm impressed. I'm proud of you.
Yeah,
good job. Otherwise, we'd be hunting you.
Yeah,
on
because
this podcast.
it was a good. We were going 60 miles an hour at least.
Yeah,
So-
that could have really been deadly.
And Kevin, who was with me, was like taking a nap at the time, so that was fun for him.
Poor guy. Well, all right. I don't know what to say about that one.
I
almost
had something to do about it. Indian burial grounds or something.
I almost caught an armadillo with my bare hands.
We'll start a wildlife podcast,
All right.
and we'll cover Dave
That's
Flex.
quite some story.
That is,
It was a reptile dysfunction he was going through. Sorry, man.
That was definitely a dad joke.
There you go.
well, Mario. He used to do stand up just like yourself, and I want to segue there into the meat of this podcast. What we're here to do. We're at the haunted Riverpool Studios, where the pond hawks practice and hone their craft. They were rated on the charts. They're no joke. It's the real deal. So I want to get into Jory's story to start, if that's okay. Sure. Our listeners are going to want to know all about you. Well, where do you come from? When did you realize you had this psychic gift? How did you prove to yourself that you had this psychic gift? How did you prove to others that you've had this psychic gift?
Well, I would get dreams, like premonitions about things. And one time I dreamt that I was walking around in my room and I went to put the light switch on and it started sparking and smoking. Okay. And, I woke up and thought, oh, that's like a terrible dream, So, a day or two goes by. I just walk in my room. I put my light switch on, and it starts sparking and everything, and I pulled my hand away. So that's when I knew that I had something going.
And how old were you when this happened? This was your first experience with the other?
Yeah, I was probably like 12 or so.
Wow.
No, Jory, I had similar experiences while I was growing up, and to this day. This is what I've come to learn. Every time I have deja vu, it's because I dreamt whatever it is that I'm experiencing. Have you had the similar?
I've had it too.
Yeah.
It's always you dreamt. Yeah, deja vu, but you've dreamt it before.
And it's never anything significant. It's always like some minute detail. Like you'll be standing at a table with your hand a certain way on a glass, and you'll be like, "This is a familiar scene to me that I've experienced before because, I dreamt
you
that."
You dreamt it, yeah. And stupidest little things.
Yeah, and it's just like these little
hallway.
Yeah, like these little vignettes of your life.
Before.
It's like a snapshot of your life, and that's one of the things I realized. And now it's gotten to the point where that when I have deja vu, I have deja vu about recalling that I had deja vu, and then have deja vu about recalling that deja vu.
The person goes to sleep and dreams they're a butterfly, and in that dream the butterfly falls asleep and dreams they're a person.
It's like I had this Inception-like reaction to it. When I do have deja vu, I'm like, oh yeah, I remembering this.
Yeah, we have a song about that called Dragonfly.
Yeah, and with the dreams and everything, and one of the lines in it was, "In dreams we can recall things we've never seen at all."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and then, there's a lot of thought went into that.
You were saying that a lot of your music has this.
I believe there's a
paranormal sort
yeah.
of undertone.
I believe there's also a terrible Kevin Costner movie called Dragonfly surrounding.
Oh
the
yeah,
same
I saw that one.
I kind of want to throw this out there too, though. Do you ever have dreams where you're with different people, different family members, but it's not yours now, but it might have been in a different era?
That's
yeah.
a song is about that.
Yeah,
I all the time I have dreams that I'm with a different family, like I'm a different person, and I know them. I've been there before. It's kind of just like it's another life, from a while ago, but it's not this one. But it's so fresh and real, like we're living right now.
That's why I always talk about time and how irrelevant time really is when you're in an unconscious state of mind. Because we all have had those dreams where you work in a factory or you're back at school or whatever it is. And nothing.
You know where everything is in detail.
Right.
You go to a shelf to go put
right,
something
because
away,
your
but you know
reality in that dream is completely, it could be tens of years or decades of years deep. Because it never at any point in that dream do you go, wait, I don't work at this factory. I don't go to school anymore. There's never that recollection within your dream. You're in a completely different reality.
Maybe we have this, ability because we're old souls.
Right. Well,
maybe some people are newer souls.
There's all that talk about past lives and past life regression and stuff, and I feel like there might. I don't necessarily believe that we've all lived before or whatever, but I do believe that there's
again and again reincarnation.
No, not even reincarnation. I believe that there's certain frequencies we can pick up on and kind of connect to other points in time, and perhaps other people that were kind of on our same wavelength. I feel like you can kind of experience somebody else's memories from a different time frame. just by being kind of on the same wavelength as them.
Like I just had something weird come to me too. Maybe when you're actually dreaming, maybe ghosts or a spirit could enter your body and relive memories. Physically, and in that weird state.
That's an interesting possibility. Weird. That when you are having one of those dreams where you're living in an alternate reality, maybe you're living somebody else's.
They kind of because when you're
maybe when you're dreaming about. No, seriously, think about this. Maybe when you're having a dream about working in some car factory in Rockford, Illinois. Some guy that works in a car factory in Rockford, Illinois, is dreaming that he works at FedEx.
So, Jory, what's your take on this?
Well, I believe in past lives, and I also I did astral project one time, and I didn't even realize I was sleeping, and I was downstate in college at U of I, and for some reason, I'm dreaming, where are my boots? It's like one of those dreams. Where are my boots? So in my dream, I go back to my home here, 150 miles away in my dream, and I go into my closet in my room, and there's my boots. Okay. Well, as I'm dreaming this, my phone rings. It's my mother. At home in Chicago, and I'm downstate. She says, "Are you okay? I just saw you go in your room."
And you were downstate.
Wow.
And I said, "Well,
Can you help me find my wallet? I lost my wallet last Friday."
He really did.
Well, I said to her, I was looking for my boots, and I found them in my closet. Can you go and check for me? And she went in there, and she says, "Yeah, your boots are in the closet."
What did you feel at that moment? Right at that moment.
I was like, wow, can I keep doing this? It was really cool.
Of all the things you could have done while you astrally projected yourself, that's what you chose to do, was look for your boots.
I didn't realize it. I thought I was dreaming. That's, it was a dream, but it was like, wow, my mother called me.
No, but this is the craziest thing. My whole life I've had these scenarios where I think of something before it happens, or I have dreams about things before they happen, or you think of somebody right before they call. You think of somebody you haven't thought of in 10 years, and you're so shocked that you even thought about. Whatever happened to that person? Like, they just completely got knocked out of my memory banks. Like, I totally forgot that person even existed until this second. Right now, I haven't thought about that person since 1998.
And they call you?
And then 2 seconds later,
they call you on the phone,
and you run into them the next day. And it's like,
because we're all connected.
And that's the crazy thing. And it's
I agree. We're all connected.
Last Friday, I'm walking out of the gas station in my neighborhood. I just checked I had my Powerball tickets out, and I checked them in the little machine, and I kept my wallet in my arm, like my elbow pushed up against my coat and my body, like in case I have to put one of them back into my pocket or whatever.
Yeah.
And, I check the tickets, and there's nothing, and I throw them out. I walk out the door, and I go to open the door with my arm. Wallet falls out onto the ground. I get in my car, I drive a block to the bank, realize I don't have my wallet, turn around, go back to the gas station, and my wallet is gone. So I'm all day, I'm like freaking out. I'm like, where's my wallet? What happened to how did I lose my wallet? And where is it? And what happened to it? I'm looking at tearing my car apart and stuff. I go back to the gas station a few hours later. I make the manager show me the surveillance tape. And then I got to see how I was holding my wallet, and that I dropped it right when I walked out the door. Literally 8 seconds after I dropped it, some jerk came by, snagged it, and walked off with it. And I'm thinking the whole time, I'm like, okay, I have weird premonitions about barbecue sauce and stupid things that mean nothing. Like, why is it that, like, when everything in my life, $300... $1,500 in checks I was about to go cash to pay my rent, and all my IDs, all my credit cards, blank checks.
Why can't you have a premonition about that?
Why can't I have a premonition about that?
Stuff?
Like, why can't it be that 1 second where I drop my wallet, that I have in a dream. So when it happens in real life, I can freeze for a second and be like, I dreamt about this. What does that mean? Oh, look, my wallet's on the ground.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Psychic
Wait a
abilities.
minute.
It's a lesson.
Maybe you did have a premonition. Wasn't an alligator wallet?
Maybe.
Maybe that was a sign. Might have been a sign.
Well, I'll tell you, a few weeks ago, I was outside shoveling snow, and I have a super long driveway, like a 6-car driveway, and I'm shoveling because I'm too stubborn to dig the snowplow out, the snowblower. So I'm shoveling. All of a sudden, I stop, and I think of this clown that I knew in high school, Joe Zaccanino. Haven't thought of him in almost 20 years since I left high school in '95, right? 15 years, whatever.
It's 20 years.
20 years, okay. It's late, my math. All of a sudden, this guy's name pops into my head, and I see his face in my head. Haven't thought of, no reason. We didn't get along. I didn't care about him. He didn't care about me. A couple hours later, I go in, I take a shower, whatever. I sit down, I open my laptop, go to check my Facebook. Who's there saying you might know?
Oh, yeah.
Joe Zaccanino. What the hell is that? Could either of the two psychics in the room, the sensitive, three of the sensitive in the room, could they explain that?
Here's where my
What is
logic.
that about?
Here's where my logic comes in. Is it possible that you saw people you may know, like just in a flash while you're scrolling down your page, and it didn't really register with you until later? Is it possible that you saw that before?
I would say no.
You know what?
I
What
would
you're,
say no.
what you're talking
Honestly.
about, I had something similar, but it was a little bit more dramatic. I had a dream.
Some people think Facebook is psychic. That it's starting to read our thoughts, our
Well, no, because
energy.
This is the thing.
It's a social
There are
experiment.
so many algorithms in Facebook that like it'll check me into places. Are you ever with somebody and take a picture, post it on Facebook, and it automatically tags them?
I'm
'Cause it
sure
reads their
somewhere
face?
down the line, some friend of a friend of a friend is friend of this clown, this guy. But I had that premonition, for lack of a better word.
I had a dream a couple
of that
years ago.
happening then. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe I saw in my head that I was going to see on Facebook this guy's picture. I don't know.
The weirdest one I ever had, I was in Minnesota or something. I was in Minnesota, and I thought about I used to work at Pet Care, which was what Petco was before it was taken over. And there was a guy named Roger that I worked with who was the ferretologist, if that's a word.
I don't know. I think that was a made-up title.
He was the ferret guy. And I only worked with him for like maybe a month or two, but it was like probably, that was like maybe 1995 or 96 when I worked there. And then this was in 2000 or 2001. I was in a mall in Minnesota somewhere with my old sales job. And for some reason, I'm walking through this mall and I think of Roger, the ferret guy. I'm like, why am I thinking of Roger, the ferret guy?
Let me guess.
And he walked past me in the mall. I'm like,
Jory, what does
I'm
that
like,
mean?
I just was thinking
help us.
about you.
Hey,
Well,
I'll say a
we have
really
an
scary
expert in
story
the
really
room.
quick.
All right, so I want to bring it back
yeah,
to Jory. We got to
but
get back on focus here.
About
We're
3 years
going
ago,
off the rails.
I had a dream about a kid I haven't seen for about 11 years, okay? I don't know why the hell I would think about this kid. I mean, I was an acquaintance, knew him from playing shows and, just being around. He's riding a bicycle, but he's like in the lead of all these kids. He's in the front, and he just stuck out. I wake up, I'm like, why the hell did I have a dream about this kid I haven't seen in like 11 years? And like, why are they riding bicycles? And
Right.
what's weird? A couple days later, I found out he hung himself.
Oh.
That was really weird. That's a
Why
weird
do
dream.
why do people associated with you keep hanging themselves?
I know.
We just had this conversation last week.
I know, last
That
week.
happened to you, 3 weeks ago now?
Yeah, but that was about teeth. I actually saw this kid, and he was in the lead, which means something was going to happen to him. I mean, I
Right.
didn't know that
No,
was going
you
to
could- I could-
happen, but
Wow.
it's weird. It's a weird coincidence. Dreams.
So, Jory, do you speak to dead people?
Yes.
When is the last time? Have you, here at Riverpool Studios, have you spoken to anybody?
Well, we're always trying to talk to the ghost here, who sometimes makes noise. We actually have a Casper lamp, and we didn't know for the
Casper? What is a
longest
Casper
time
lamp?
that it actually lights up.
It's actually a little statue of Casper the Friendly Ghost. As I got it maybe 18 years ago or so, and it lights up. Well, this guy had the same little bulb in it little 25-watt bulb in it for 18 years, and it goes on and off by itself. It's not supposed to.
Wow.
Bulb's not, but...
Is the bulb shorting
we do a
out,
Q&A
or-
now.
You would think it was shorted out by now. I mean,
After
completely.
18 years, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
We do the Q&A with the ghost.
yeah, we'll say, what do you think of this? You know,
As
just...
the light goes on.
You know, you're in the studio for hours and hours and listening to the same song 2,000... What? Oh, yeah, right? It's like, what do you think, Casper?
Yeah, Casper.
I'll give me reverb for 400, you know.
And the light will actually light up in
It- yeah.
response to
Yeah.
your questions?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow, why
Or
isn't this
not.
out right now?
You know,
It's
it's
in
like
there.
a
It's in there.
K2.
It's like
A
a
K2 meter.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of like a...
We tried the flashlight thing, and it didn't quite get the idea to turn the flashlight on. It was
And-
too hard, but it figured out the lamp.
And even if it isn't, it's great fun. Even
I
if it's
bet.
even if it's bizarre coincidence, it's great fun. You know,
way
like I say, you're listening to the same
yeah.
mix 200-300 times.
It breaks the monotony.
Yes, it does.
That's
well,
interesting.
but you should tell them about the refrigerator. What happened in there?
Yeah, somebody drank the last beer. What was that about? No, I'm
Oh,
just kidding.
sorry, that was me.
No, that
I
was-
like
that
to
was
drink beer while
Casper did
I
it. No.
podcast.
That was Casper the Drunken Ghost.
So,
Kids?
what do you guys pick up here? Now, I know, Mario Erie, you said you have been associated with this building for about 40 years now. All said.
Pretty close. Pretty close.
What do you know anything?
Actually, when I was a little kid walking home from school, from kindergarten on up, we would walk right past there all the time.
So let's describe where this place, because we're here because it's haunted. That's why we're here, and we're going to hear the stories. And actually, we're going to hear an incredible EVP that was captured here during one of your recording sessions. That is neither of your two's voice.
No.
Absolutely.
I heard this before we went on the air this evening. We all did, and it's bone chilling. It's one of the
freaked us out when we heard it.
It's one of the best EVPs I've ever heard. And we'll get into the story, what prefaced that EVP. But let's talk about where we are. We're in the far northwest side of Chicago. This structure is pretty much sandwiched between two massive cemeteries. And I have family in both cemeteries.
And in between two water masses, the Des Plaines River
Right, one.
and Lake Michigan.
Well, yeah, and Lake Michigan's further to the east. Yeah, Des Plaines River is right here, which, of course, Potawatomi, Chippewa.
Actually, there's a creek just about
yeah.
that far
Actually, there
that
is.
actually goes under the road here from the cemetery.
Like the Morseland.
Yes.
There's a
Yes, I forgot about that.
pond fed from a creek that used to run right across the main road here, and it would snake down this street. And
And we
it's
also
still
have
there.
we also all have bottles of water.
That's right.
Well, there's many theories that
But-
talk about...
Wait, does the creek go under here?
No, but
But it's in between. The two.
right. So that's bizarre, and it does
Waterman.
come up in that golf course up the way.
Oh, Indian Boundary.
No, that one there.
I don't remember the name of
well,
that one, but yeah, okay. I know there's one north of us, but so we're sandwiched between two massive cemeteries. We have the Des Plaines River. This street that we're on, we're going to keep it anonymous, just out of respect for
Riverpool.
Riverpool Studios, right? To not bring any negative attention to the studio here, but this street, this main thoroughway, very busy thoroughway that we're on, used to be a pioneer trail
Absolutely.
back in the history of Chicago, right?
Yeah.
And it's a well-known fact, Dave, correct, that these old pioneer trails, Indian trails, today are notoriously haunted.
Right, and I feel like
Such as what? Clark
I-
Street, Sheridan Avenue,
Right.
Sheridan Road, excuse me.
I feel like pretty much any street on an angle, Milwaukee Avenue, Clark Street, all these angled streets, at least in Chicago.
This being an angled street also.
Right.
Yes.
At least in Chicago, anyways, were all at one point Indian trails, and they were already kind of like a set path. So
How far? And we're also by
The tracks.
Triangle Woods.
Yes.
Triangle Woods isn't very far.
the thing
Robinson Woods isn't far. Yeah.
the thing is, I
Robinson.
don't necessarily feel that the paranormal activity along those roads have much to do with Native Americans necessarily. I think there's a lot more history along those areas.
Yeah.
Concentration
I think the most potent
concentration
energy, though, is
concentration
Native
of
American.
human activity.
Yeah. So just to kind of give you a rough idea where we're sitting. The building, you said, over the past 40 years, as far as you know, clean. Nothing's really happened here.
Oh, no, it's just been a...
No one's ever died here. No
Nope.
horrific
No.
crime has taken place here.
No.
So what do you guys think is here? What is here? Because we heard it loud and clear in that EVP, which we'll play.
Well,
What's here, George?
There's actually
Or
more
Mario?
than one.
Yeah.
More
Yeah.
than one. Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
you heard 2 of them on the EVP.
Yeah.
You know what? You're right. There was a
Yeah.
male voice and a female scream.
And you know,
screech.
yeah, but they're like not. I don't pick up any. And Jory's the psychic one here, but I mean, it's nothing bad. It's playful. It's,
I mean,
they're just
the EVP sounds very sinister, but when you listen to it, you know that they're making
joking.
fun. They're making
they're
fun.
poking fun.
I mean, 'cause-
at what happened.
But- Right.
Right, which we'll get
Okay.
into in a moment.
Which is
Yeah, right,
absolutely-
yeah, so
and
there's-
whoever it is, and we did get an EVP on this new album we're working on,
Yeah.
which we can't tell you
Understood.
yet.
Understood. Maybe
just
at
the other
another
night.
time. Maybe at another
Oh
time.
yeah,
The other night,
we'd love to
yeah.
come back again sometime.
Love
But
to have you.
the EVP did say that the song was about life in general. And it says, well, you tell them what.
Yeah, and in the future and stuff like that, and the ghost, the voice on there said, "I haven't any more time."
I haven't anymore. It's just
haven't any more time.
It's
I
like
haven't any
the
more
line
time.
was so much as to say, well, there's still so much. There's still time in the clock, and says, well, I haven't any more time. And
So-
That's what the song was about that, yeah.
But
And-
as
I
a
got the
joke,
goosebumps.
so we know, and did it in pitch, but sang it.
And in rhythm with the song,
in
too,
rhythm with the song.
song.
And maybe we'll have that EVP cleaned up for you if we come back again.
I would love to have you,
Why don't
absolutely.
you tell them that story? Because when we're talking about dreams, about your godfather, about when you woke up.
Well,
because that intertwines.
Yes, absolutely. That was a good point. A good point. And I remember
Right.
my godfather had passed away, and it was really.
You didn't know,
Oh no, I had known.
huh?
I had known.
Oh, you did know?
Yeah, but well, it's just that he had. It was early morning, and I thought I had dreamt it, and he had taken the TV guide, and I saw it, put it down like on the table, and I go, "What are you doing?" He goes, "Go back to sleep." He goes, "Tomorrow comes early." And tomorrow comes early, and remember we were talking about
Yeah,
that?
right, yeah,
that
yeah.
was, and I go, and that was like a message, like enjoy your life. Tomorrow comes early,
Right.
because he died very young. Yeah, heart attack. It was a great guy, but
What if it's your godfather?
we thought about that. There's a lot of
Well,
possibilities.
we've
But
been
if
trying to
whoever
get
it
a
is-
name.
Yeah.
Casper, but
You definitely don't get an ominous, bad
No.
feeling.
There's
It's a very
nothing.
relaxed
Whatever it is.
atmosphere here.
I think the music. See,
There's a lot of antiques here. There's
and
Yeah, there's a
old
lot of
There's a
pictures.
lot of
pictures on the
stuff,
walls,
yeah.
pictures of the Beatles and Paul McCartney, which we'll get to in a second. It's a very warm, welcoming place.
well, just
And you know what? I mean, being like clairsensitive, there's a certain area where I do feel something.
Where? I'm going to ask you where.
In the back,
Okay.
he has a boiler room. Okay,
There's
That-
another room in the back here, yes.
That's where I get the feeling, which is very close to the studio, which is you've
Well,
been experienced.
I'll tell you, before we came on air, and you guys could believe me or not, I was in the bathroom here doing number one, and I'm sitting there doing my
Take
business, and all of a sudden, over my left shoulder, as I'm sitting there doing my thing, I hear this real deep voice murmur, just above my left shoulder, like something was trying to talk to me, say something.
don't forget to flush.
Wash your hands. But I did, and I started calling for you guys, and no one answered. And then I'm
that's
finally
you.
like, Joe, and you're like, yeah.
yeah, right.
And you came in, you tried to open the door, and I unlocked it, and I'm like, dude, something just talked to me from above my left shoulder.
It's like, look at the size of that.
And it was this real deep, like it was the weirdest thing,
And you never hear
I don't
hear any-
feel.
Or
All I
feel.
have is my plague, that Mr. Lincoln. Outside of that, I don't feel this stuff. I did not take my medication, but I came out and I said, and Jory
I'm
confirmed
wondering
that
if
that area of the
back
building
area.
Yeah, is fun.
has
Yeah.
a
Oscar-
hot spot.
Oscar, are you working tomorrow? What time do you work?
Oh, no, I don't.
Okay, before we leave tonight, do you think you'd be able to set up all your equipment with microphones around and just leave it running all night? Come pick it up in the morning? Seriously?
No, I have my other podcast.
We've actually done that.
We've
We've
done
done that. Picked up.
We had. Well, I think there's.
Well, one time, just a little bit. But,
It was knocking on the walls. Yeah, it was. And
yeah.
there was one.
you go.
I have to try and find it where there's a woman talking, but you hear that like white noise thing
In
like,
here.
Shh. Yeah,
It-
and she's talking to somebody, but you don't hear them, and she's having a conversation, and it could be the same ghost, because
Yeah.
we figure there's a guy and a girl ghost in here.
Yeah, there's two, and then they're it's always anytime you get an EVP, it's always something clever or silly or poking fun at something.
Well, that's good.
It's nothing. Otherwise, I would not be here. I'd be like, okay, time to record
we
someplace
almost
else.
ran out of the room when we heard that one.
When we
That
heard this was
oh,
whoa,
oh
but
my
then we're
God.
like,
we were like,
they're making fun of it, and then we didn't.
well, you should tell them the story
will
how
pay
it
you.
came
let
about.
me tell you
How it came about.
Joe,
with-
real quick. I just want to backtrack. Joe, what's an EVP?
Electric voice phenomenon.
What is that?
It's basically a recording of a spirit or an energy.
Okay. Just wanted to get it out there for people who didn't know. So, let's set the stage for this incredible EVP that we're going to play. It was taken here at Riverpool Studios during one of your recording sessions.
Right. Well, it was at a mixing session. Yeah,
A mixing
we had
session,
just,
okay.
We're mixing down a song. Just got the final mix. Go ahead. You were gonna ask?
No, I'm listening.
Oh,
Sorry.
good. Okay.
Because it leads up to what
Right.
happened here mysteriously is answered or made fun of in the EVP.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. 'cause-
Oh, yeah.
And it is incredible. So please set that stage for us.
Well, what was happening for, I would say, a month or two, we would hear like a noise in the studio, and we'd run in there, and the microphone would have fallen off of the stand. It'd be hanging by the wire.
It would be out of the microphone holder and just be hanging by the wire.
Okay.
The whole actual microphone holder would be, because it's got the pivot on it.
Right.
Would pivot down and it would fall out. So it had to pivot down and fall out. Now these are not heavy mics. This is a Shure SM58. I mean, those are.
And we tighten them, so-
and we
'cause we-
tighten
yeah,
them.
you guys
It's
are
not like we have this
professionals.
mammoth.
You're
Damn it.
singing. You're not going to have these things be floppy. and
Right.
You know what you're
Absolutely.
doing.
We've been using them, and they
Yeah.
never. And this was happening a lot. We go back, and again, I go, well, let me tighten this a little better, and like the next morning, I come back, I call her up, I go, you're not gonna. I came in here the next day, and the thing's hanging off the thing.
Yeah.
The microphone's
microphone's
hanging
hanging.
off. I go, that was wild.
It was weird.
So
yeah.
then, fast forward again, a month or so, we're doing a mix down on this song, and at the end, it was a song we wound up not even using on the album, but
Yeah, we were like we would go in one room and where the recorders are, and we mix it, and then we come out in the room where we had the playback so we could hear it, and we were playing this song probably 30 times completely through just to hear the balance and things.
little tweaks,
Yeah, little tweaks.
tweaks.
And run back in
Perfectionist.
there. We had to start the recorder again, come back out in the room. So it was going on, and finally we get. I think it was like the 30th time. We finally get the mix right. Okay, and we sit down there and we're listening and we're like really thrilled and then the song ends and we get up to go shut off the recorder in the other room, and this voice gets on screaming. I mean, just like so loud. I mean, we were like,
It sounds distorted. It's just like
it almost
like
sounded
an energy.
Yeah, we were like, where did that come from?
It kind of sounded like just like a
Somebody yelling really loud, like clipping,
Right,
loud
like
noise.
a bad bus thing, like next stop, Kedzie. It's like,
Right.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
real loud.
And
real loud.
it does sound male. It definitely
Yeah,
has a male
Yeah.
tone,
And
to it, a
the
male
other one
feel.
sounds female.
And the other one
Followed
there's-
up by a female.
Female.
But
yeah.
it's just you can tell it's kind of
Yeah.
playful, kind of poking fun at that. And after we heard that EVP, if it was an EVP, Maybe it was a cab driver going past.
Yeah, I doubt it.
Sure it was.
Yeah, right.
Anyways,
Yeah,
but I'm just-
we weren't recording that night, remember?
Yeah, that's right. But after that EVP, the microphone stand thing never happened again.
So why don't we listen to the EVP now?
Okay.
So let Oscar cue up that EVP. Let's let our listeners hear what was recording
Maybe
during
they
that
can
mixing
figure
session.
out what
Yeah, see
what is
if you guys
being
can hear
said
what
there.
it
Yeah.
says, and then when we come back from playing the EVP, Mario and Jory will actually tell us what it says and how it fits into the microphone story. So, listeners, here we go. Want to listen to it once? And just because that's so impressive, oh my God, let's listen to that again. Microphone. Okay, so what do you guys hear in that EVP?
Well, I think he's saying, I'm going to dump the microphone on your foot, and she screams.
I'm going to dump the microphone on your foot with a high-pitched scream.
Like a screech more, and not so much even a screech, like a squeal.
It's
or
almost,
something.
she's like
Like a-
further
like-
away or something, like it's, you know.
Yeah, like almost a laugh squeal. Almost.
Yeah.
Like,
It's almost
Can
like
we play it again?
Let's play that one more
Play
time.
it again and slow it down, maybe?
Okay, so now I think everyone can hear that it's definitely talking about dropping the mic on something, on a foot, on the floor, something, and then
Yeah,
the
I
female
definitely hear microphone.
squeals
I'm
at
gonna
the
drop
end.
the microphone. I
So now,
definitely hear
listeners, remember, for a month or more, correct, guys?
Yeah.
Correct.
They were having this phenomena happen where the mics were popping off the mic stands and then just hanging by the microphone cord. And it was perplexing to them. And then they record this voice almost making a joke out of dropping this microphone. And I got to say, that, again, is probably one of the best EVPs I've ever heard, and certainly that we've ever captured ourselves as SOS. So hats off to you guys. So what the hell is it?
Yeah, did you guys have any other experiences?
oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, let's hear some. Let's
yeah.
Pepsi can.
here at River Pond Studio. Let's hear about more things that happen.
well, that's more of a visual. I'd have to. I'll show them, and we can do that on another. But you were actually here when
Yeah, I
the
was here.
Pepsi can.
Yeah.
Tell me about the Pepsi
explode.
can, Joe.
You tell them, and I'll go get the Pepsi can. I'll show it to them.
All right.
Yeah, we're hanging.
We should call it a soda can. Just
Yeah, the
Ah.
soda slash.
We don't have that many listeners.
We're hanging out in another room,
No one's going to sue us for saying
having a
Pepsi.
conversation, and all of a sudden we heard
a free case of Pepsi.
Let him finish.
Well, yeah, this thing just. Well, I had
Oh, you still have it.
right. This
Oh,
we
man.
keep this in the control room. Usually, this is amazing. There was a lot of there was. Oh, sorry. No,
No, I'm just queuing up my camera because I want to take a picture.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
take a
this is
picture.
wild.
A picture for the website.
Okay, cool. Well, let me show you
Sure,
this.
please.
The odd thing about this is see how it's concave here, and that
The base of the can.
yes,
Yeah.
like and the
Yep.
top that goes, and when if it's going to explode, that's like one of the safeties that will expand out so the can doesn't
To
explode.
prevent the can. Okay.
To prevent the can from exploding. And the second thing that would happen is that pop top would probably go.
The pop top. Right.
But you can pass that along.
And it's not on the seam or anything.
And there is no seam.
that whole
there is
thing
no-
blew out.
Yeah.
by itself. Like,
It looks like something was trying to get out of the can.
Absolutely.
that's what I think.
Absolutely.
So, guys, please set this up again. What were you doing when this can popped?
It
We
was
had
just sitting on a shelf.
Yeah, we had just
Now-
Joe was here. We had just gotten some rather not joyous news
yeah.
band wise,
Yeah.
and it was a very frustrating
we're having a
moment.
discussion.
And all of a sudden, the can just went boom. Now that can had been sitting there for a week or so. It was not cold in here. It was not hot in here. It It was just
after you
I was like,
received
what the heck
some
was that?
unpleasant
Yeah,
news.
There was some
phone call.
unpleasant phone call,
Unpleasant phone.
and
Yeah.
I hung up the phone and I was just, everybody was frustrated, and all of a sudden the can goes boom.
Wow, that
Now,
would
had
scare
the
me to
can,
death.
now I have to be, ask all the logical questions.
Right.
Had the can fallen off the
No.
counter or been
No,
sitting there for-
it had been sitting there for the longest time.
Did you contact the 800 number at Pepsi?
You had somebody come in and look at it, right?
Seriously,
Well,
Oh, yeah.
I've had situations before, like specifically, I remember carrying in. I got those, like, you get those 12 packs of Coke that, like, they slide into your refrigerator with the pop top thing. And I was walking in with two of them in my hands, and they have that little handle on there. So I'm walking in with two of them on my hands, and both at the same time, both tore out, fell all over the sidewalk, and like cans are popping and spraying everywhere. I called Coca-Cola and I'm like, hey, listen, your cartons are defective. I spilled a bunch everywhere, and they sent me a whole bunch of coupons and stuff. They're like, yeah, we've been
Okay,
having...
so
No,
but
they
this
specifically...
that didn't fall off the
But
shelf.
this didn't
But
fall off the
no,
shelf.
but this is what I'm saying. They specifically said we've been having problems with that specific batch. So, if you call Pepsi and give them the code on that can, they would be able to tell you whether or not that has been happening with cans from that
Oh, that,
particular...
there we go. Okay,
this was
so
a long time
I
ago.
doubt it.
so what else has happened? What else has happened here?
Well, we've.
You caught as soon as I walked in the door, you showed me a picture
Oh yeah.
that
yeah.
was captured recently.
Oh, that picture was taken not here though. That picture was taken in.
No, of the one on your shoulder.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The face, yes.
Yeah. Our ghost, who we fondly call Casper because we just can't, get his name. We took like a band shot here, and we did kind of like a selfie shot with three people, and months later, Mario kind of noticed something in the side of the picture that looked a little peculiar, and I just never noticed it, so I just blew the picture up, and on the wall, kind of like photobombing us, is a head of, we think is Casper, tiny little head, and it's a person. It's a face. It's a face. You saw it.
I did see
Yeah,
it
it's a
myself.
face.
Looks like it's got a big grin on its
He's
face.
got a big grin, and
he's
smiling.
He's happy.
There's no body. It's just the head, and he's sort of laying kind of like horizontal, his head to us, like he's trying to get in the picture or something, and he's like sort of near the wall behind us. And I just couldn't believe it when I blew it up that there was actually a face. Like,
There was. I seen it.
Yeah.
And that was taken here.
Yeah, smiling.
Liverpool Studios.
Usually orbs, like you see that energy around them, they're just white with energy around it. This one
This
actually
is-
had an image in it.
Maybe if they
And
ever
the
felt like
energy.
sharing the photo, we could get it up on the website. Just throwing it out there. But
Yeah,
it was pretty
But
interesting.
the thing about at first I thought it was just this orb. Well, there is a crystal, a crystal hook with a crystal piece on the end. At first I go, wow, this is amazing. And then as we blew it up, I go, oh, it's the crystal piece off this hook. But then she blew it up more, and she goes, there's a face in that crystal piece.
yeah,
That's
it seems
the
to be
thing.
off of the crystal piece.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, it's not-
yeah. But the
Nice
crystal
day. Yeah.
piece is what attracted me to say. That's what I thought it was at first.
That
then
drew
she
your
blew it up.
eye. I
Yeah,
see.
She blew it up
It's
more.
like,
She
oh,
goes,
it's not.
you ain't gonna believe this.
Yeah.
And I go, okay.
It's a face, yeah.
Wow.
And smiling face, too. Like,
Yeah.
getting in the picture with us.
You just want him to be noticed.
Photobombed. Yeah.
Now, you said you've heard pounding here.
Yeah.
Knocks. Matter of fact, there would be other people in the studio with you, and a particular bureau would be knocking almost from the inside, like something is
Absolutely.
inside of it. In threes, is that correct? Was it threes? Is that what you?
not
Okay, I'm
always
sorry,
in threes,
misunderstood. But
but
the bureau knocking from the inside, and
It's loud.
people who don't even know
yeah.
that Casper's here have said, "Guys,
What is
what
that?"
is that?" And
Yes,
complete
people that
bystanders
people are
have
like,
seen it and
"Geez,
experienced
there's
it."
That cabinet.
What's
there,
going on in
It's
there?
a very old antique cabinet I had since I was a young child. That
Wow.
my parents bought at a flea market long time ago.
Well, and I'm looking at it right now, and yeah, it is an antique piece.
Yes.
Jory, I mean, what is this? As the psychic, What do you think this is?
Well, I would say that my brother actually, when he got married, I stayed at his house in Georgia, and I stayed in one of the rooms, and this place was over 100 years old, and I did pick up a lot of psychic stuff that there were, spirits, but I noticed one thing in my room. There was like a chest, drawers and stuff like that, and for some reason I got like this image, like that there was like some little old lady, like like early 1900s that had this, and then I asked my sister-in-law. I said, "Did you get this from somebody?" She said, "Actually, we got this. There was a woman. She recently passed away, and we brought, we bought it for." And I said, "Because I'm getting this image of this person there." So, and she was very, attached to that, and I picked up on that. And this one, I'm not quite sure. I know there's something there. Maybe
and she's
more
pointing
than
to
one.
the bureau in question,
Right?
that
And I'm
knocks,
almost thinking it's a
that
child.
raps.
So, but we don't know. We don't know.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Dave, are you picking anything up here? Now, you and Joe
I do keep-
are the clairsensitives of the
Yeah, I
group.
keep getting-
Not psychic, but clairsensitive. You can tell when energy's around.
I keep getting like the tears welling up in my eyes and like the pulsing feeling.
Joe, are you feeling anything?
It comes and goes.
Yeah, it's not anything that's constant. It's just kind of like flashes.
When we were in the corner listening to the EVP, I felt something behind me. It would kind of come and go.
The ghost
I
hug? Was it a ghost dog?
It was like,
You know what the ghost hug is like?
oh, the
The-
ghost! I thought you said
Yeah, I
ghost
thought you
dog.
said ghost
No,
dog
no,
as well.
no,
That's
the
what I thought you
ghost
said
hug.
too.
No,
I
the
was like,
ghost-
wait a minute, what?
No,
People
it was.
know what the ghost
Yeah.
hug. What,
Okay.
explain what that is.
Could you explain the ghost
Okay,
hug for us?
the ghost hug is like if you're in a room with a ghost and it wraps itself around you, you get this chill down your back. You get just freezing, and it's a hug. It's a hug, and then it goes away. That's the ghost hug.
Have you ever received one here?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
It's basically just the feel like something's near. It's there, but it hasn't bit yet.
Again, going back to that
Yes.
fishing reference.
I get something in the back. It's more in my gut in the boiler room. This right here,
He's pointing to the bureau again, the bureau in question.
I feel it's a couple like in their like 60s, kind of just like taller, like slim. They have like an image in my head. That's just me, I'm not saying I'm right. That's what I get. But I mean, I grew up here. I never really get a strong bad feeling. It's something is here. It's in the back, and I think it might just kind of. I mean, if they know if you know, and they
I
follow
believe
you.
that. I believe that as well.
But whatever it is, it's kind of stuck in the back. There is a property in the back, living quarters.
Yeah.
It could have been a couple, and they could come back and forth. We don't know.
In the building's history, a couple
Yes.
might have been there. Got it.
Well, from a long time ago, but it's not bad. It's not a very strong, but also too, I'm never here later on at night, which to me that's usually when things come out.
Most believe that, but that picture Jory was talking about, that smiley energy above her shoulder, was taken in broad daylight.
Yeah.
It was. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's funny. Like you watch some of these programs where the people are kind of hunting ghosts and stuff like that, and it's always in the middle of the night, and it's like the ghosts are around all the time.
Right.
Yeah. So
How
it's
do you
kinda
feel about
crazy.
those shows? Do you feel as a psychic it's offensive to the real psychics of the world, or do you just kind of take it in stride? Do you not care? What do you think of these? Because this stuff is everywhere now. Anytime you turn on the television, it's there.
Well,
What do you think of these shows?
I kind of think, okay, when I see the Pandora box, which is like the little radio scanner, and you hear like words like "help me" or something,
Right.
that to me is just totally I mean, if you have one of those, it just randomly says words no matter what.
And it doesn't help that like every single one of those shows is just like, yeah, we're just plumbers, but we go out and do this thing. Hey, we were just bouncers.
Bro, did you hear that,
Yeah.
bro?
And the thing is,
Like, hey, he's a fireman, and he takes cans out of garbage cans to turn
not
in
only
for
that,
money.
it's like, okay, the ghosts are always in the basement or the attic. Come on, if you're dead, you're going to be hanging out in all these places and the walls and stuff. No.
And I'm going to take that back. I did experience that pop can, and that was
right,
daytime.
right.
Right, that was daytime.
Yeah,
daytime.
they're,
Whatever that
nighttime.
was.
I still say call Pepsi.
What,
Hold on,
or
Martin
whatever
wanted to say
cola it was.
Well, you talked to somebody who said
the
that.
unnamed
How long ago did that happen?
Oh, about 9 years ago, I'd say.
I would literally say tomorrow, if you get a chance, call Pepsi, give them the lot number on that can, because if there was a defective batch of cans, they will have records of that.
Well, I think it would be in a newspaper, something
Right.
like that.
No, well,
I think that would be all over the
It's
news.
not like it's going to
idea.
kill
Yeah.
anyone.
That would be
Yeah,
like,
right.
So you know what I kind of want to do right now? We're here in this haunted location. I heard a voice. We caught that amazing EVP that we played 3 times already. Oscar, could we count down like just 60 seconds of silence? We have these these powerful mics in front of us. Could we do just a minute of silence and see if we could catch anything right now?
Something I actually do want to mention we didn't talk about. I get a feeling in that little walkway between the buildings.
Between the buildings.
And I've always gotten it since I was little.
All right.
There's
Well,
there's
just a
something-
walkway is kind of unusual.
Dave's going to just go and just take a quick walk by the bathroom.
I'm gonna go walk back there.
This is what he does when he goes into a haunted location.
This is cool.
And literally, I'm literally like 10 seconds, 3 steps into my walk, and I'm already feeling it. Like pretty strongly.
Really go.
Don't point.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
Let him
Let's
do
see
it.
if he can figure it out. This is what he does, and he's usually spot on. He can find the haunted spots in a large building, multi-floor building. He'll pick it out.
Present right now.
What are you feeling, Dave?
I'm feeling the flushing in my face.
Dave feeling flushing in his face, tearing in his eyes, for in case you can't hear him.
Starting to feel the tingle in the back of my head. My hands are tingling.
Getting the tingling in the head, hands, and arms.
Shortness of breath.
Shortness of breath. He's back towards manager's office.
It's like super electric in here.
He's getting crazy feelings from the manager's office. Dave, what are you feeling? Explain it.
It's really heavy in the control room.
Heavy in the control. Excuse me, not manager's office, control room.
My veins are popping up.
Tingling hands, veins popping up. Very heavy.
You know what? I'll tell you, when we figured out this place was haunted, we were trying to figure out where the ghost was, and back there is the electrical power is back there, the circuit breakers.
Do you think they're feeling that right now?
Well, no, the ghost was in that room.
I see.
And, I brought the K2 meter and went in there and coaxed it to come out because it didn't want to come out. And since then, I think it goes in there and comes out.
Must feel safe
but
back there or something.
yeah, but it's harmless. But I mean, but that's where probably why that area is so full of energy, because that's where it goes to, like, I don't know, to energize or whatever they do. It's-
Now, I didn't know that. You guys didn't tell me anything about that back area before I went to use the facilities.
and that's right next to it. Yeah,
and I
that's the-
heard that voice.
Right,
So
yeah.
I'm not crazy, Oscar.
And the way you describe that voice is almost what I would say that EVP that I got 2 days ago on the recording
On the
sounds like.
new album.
Yeah.
I can't
Yeah.
wait to
Oh
hear
no,
that.
you're crazy, but for other reasons. You're right. Oh, this time,
I'm right this time.
but you're natural.
Give me my credit when the credit is due.
Yeah,
please.
I'll give it to you, but you're still kind of.
And Jory, out of all these experiences, all these encounters, it's never told you what it wants, what they want.
Well, it did try to type its name on the old computer.
Please
Oh,
tell
I
us
love
about
this
that,
story.
because
Yeah,
that
that-
reminds
that's a
me
fun
of what
story.
happened to Joe Erie with the Ouija board typing on his,
Right.
possibly typing on his cell
And
phone.
we were doing stuff on the computer, and we left, and there's a little area in the program that we use where it says name. And we came in there, and in all capitals, it said, it had I-M-M-M-M-M-M exclamation mark, like I'm. But we never got the rest of it. I mean,
Maybe he's
never,
a stutterer, or she, or it's.
So you believe it was trying to tell you something?
Yeah, and then,
It really wasn't typed. It was like, it was, I don't know if I was just in the other room, but in the control room, did you explain about how we were asking, and
we were asking its name.
Where you would type in what
name.
Instrument was on what track, like
Yeah.
piano track, piano middle eight, or piano chorus, or
Yeah, you
and then there was
identify
a
the
blank one,
instrument
all of a sudden,
for the name.
so I'm not paying attention. I look back and I'm like, Jorah, come over here.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, there's I am my.
Yeah, like the exclamation.
I am my.
Yeah.
And but there was, that was it.
Yeah, so
All right,
that's
so
as close as we got.
And that's in the control room where Dave Black was
Yeah,
just
right.
freaking out.
Yeah.
I'm back now. I learned that yes, it's very, very strong back there. It's like a 10 out of 10. Very
10
strong.
out of, that's saying a lot for you.
Yeah,
A 10 out of 10?
It's where I felt it. It was definitely 10 out of 10. It was like fully encompassing. Like
As soon as you open
Explain,
the boiler
explain
room
exactly.
door,
Explain exactly
oh my
what you
God.
felt. What
it's
did you
like,
feel?
Okay, so if you can imagine that feeling of the static electricity on an old television tube.
Yeah,
after
you
turn
described
off the
that
TV.
before.
It's like if you walked into a room full of that. That's basically what it feels like. Like you're walking into like static electricity.
You said your eyes were watering. Your
Eyes
veins
were
popping
watering, shortness of breath, veins popping out, tingling hands. Like you can feel your whole like body chemistry, your blood pressure change and everything.
out. Wow.
Did you get the ghost hug?
Maybe that's his ghost hug when he gets that feeling.
Yeah, we all feel it different.
That's a good point, Tay.
What I did
looks a
learn
little-
is I went and looked in the bathroom, and there's 2 vents in the ceiling. There's a fan, and then there's like a
Fans don't talk.
like an air conditioning vent.
So,
No, but
having come-
there are people upstairs in the building.
No,
There's not?
No, there aren't.
nobody.
There's nobody upstairs.
Okay,
Yeah.
well then.
So you just came back. You all actually, the 3 of you just came back. Joe, Dave, and Mario just came back from experiencing this. Let's take 60 seconds. Oscar, count down 60 seconds for us.
My watch will do it.
We typically don't do this on a podcast to keep dead air, but things seem to be happening now. The atmosphere is charged. In 3, 2, 1, we're going to go silent and see if we can pick anything up. If anything is here, let yourself be known. Speak into any one of the 4 microphones you see here. 3, 2. All right, that was 60 seconds. Guys, did you feel anything?
Did you see that shadow over here?
I did not see it. Explain what you saw. I didn't see it. I was looking down.
Yeah,
I was looking down and
my
just
peripheral
concentrating.
vision, I just saw something quick.
There
I
was
looked
like a
and
bang over there. Did you hear the
Yeah,
bang?
did you-
There was a bang from
Yeah.
behind
I heard
us
that.
towards the front of the studio.
All I heard was the clocks tick, tick, tick,
Yes.
tick.
Antique clocks, yes.
Well, maybe
Well-
there's a voice on there. Maybe he'll tell us his name.
Okay, so, Oscar, did you see anything move in your recording software? Any, I don't know what you call those. I'm
Wave
sorry.
files.
Waves. Did you see any waves bouncing? So, you didn't, but that doesn't mean it didn't happen because, Mario, Jory, that killer EVP you guys caught, you didn't see anything on your recording software.
Oh,
It was,
no. You could see that.
what were you saying, Jory? That
Oh no, we were playing the recorder
You
on
said it
our
was
speakers,
flatline or something?
and and when we went back to look at where the voices were on there, our
Dave's freaking out.
our recording levels were flatlined, like nothing was there.
So you got this.
Wait. Did you do that?
Come into the mic. Come into the mic. Come into the mic. Come into the mic.
Whatever's here is on me right now. Like,
Take pictures.
all right,
You got the camera.
everyone,
Take pictures.
Everyone, be quiet again, because it's with me. It's like I don't know if you can see my eyes welling up.
Yeah, I can.
No,
It looks like you're about to.
Dude, I swear to God, you're
take a zoom of his face.
Look and look at my arms, man.
Get a zoom. He's ready to cry. I mean, he's got tears all in his eyes.
No, Dave, I could feel it off of you. Look at my arms. It is really strong.
Jory, are you feeling
I'm
anything?
feel anything or
Like
no?
my eyes are actually tearing. Now.
I'm feeling it.
Wait, he's got
You
tears
don't-
streaming down his face. He's got tears streaming down his face.
Yeah.
No.
And I haven't cried in like 10 years.
I don't remember ever seeing you do this.
Yeah, it's going away now.
Whatever's here, go to Dave Black. Obviously, you're here. He's feeling you. Speak into that red microphone. Speak into the red microphone.
All right, so this is what we're going to do. Joe, Jory, silently call to it, make it come here. Let's do the 60 seconds again and see if we can...
But what I want to say, too, and I want you to maybe try to focus on this.
Oscar Spector is
remember we were
documenting
talking
this at
about
the
the
moment.
waves? Like, sometimes you're looking in the sun and you see the heat in the waves.
Yeah, the
When-
beveled air.
When I was when we were sitting waiting, I did see a shadow really quick. I just saw something over here, and I heard the bang. But I'm focusing, and I actually saw that indoor, the waves,
I just saw two...
the
I
black.
saw two things in my peripheral vision, too.
I swear to God, and I'm getting it on and off.
All right,
I'm not,
if
it's not
anything
coming
is
directly
here-
to me, it's on and off.
You have the stage. You have the floor. Let yourself be known.
It's definitely here.
Let's wait. We're going to go 120 seconds.
All right, everyone be quiet.
If something's here, let yourself be known. Come to us.
Dave is literally pouring tears out of his eyes right now. Whatever's here, say something in the microphones. Talk to us. You've done it before. Do it again.
Don't be afraid of us. We just want to communicate. We just want to know you're here.
Something's tapping.
Oh, absolutely, the fourth time.
We hear you.
They're referring to 4 taps that happened behind us towards the front of the studio.
There's one back there, too. There's 5.
If
A 5th one back by the control room.
is there anything that you could do
This is why
that
we
could make
decided
us
to take the
believe
show
a little
on the
bit
road.
more? We want to feel you.
Dave's zoned. He's completely
Casper, tell us
zoned
your
out.
name.
He's completely zoned out.
I'm looking at the reflection in the television. So I think I see something.
What do you see?
Light right here.
Dave's pointing
It's gone now.
above and to the left.
Where the hell did it
Above
go?
left of his shoulder, there was a light.
Oh, there it is. I'm seeing the reflection of.
Like
Okay,
every
that
once in a
one.
while, I'll see things moving, like little specks. I'll see. I saw a shadow over there. It's just little movements, the peripheral vision. You know, it just. I earlier I saw like the heat waves, like
Beveled air. That's what it's called.
and it yes, and it's weird. It would come and go, but you noticed for that split second how it just got so empty. The air just got so empty, and then we heard the
Like a vacuum.
like it just emptied, and then we heard the knocks.
All right, so I've had watery eyes before, but I've never had.
No, I don't ever remember seeing
I've
you
never seen his
literally
face.
cry.
I got
Jory, what do you think of his reaction?
I think he's met the ghost.
Met the ghost. Met Casper.
Yeah.
I've never seen him kind of look like that before. Like, I
was-
mean, he was
that was
like
pretty
kind of seemed like
intense.
freaked
Yeah.
out, you know?
That's our Mr. Scully right there,
Yeah.
who just left the
Yeah,
room to go
yeah.
compose himself.
I think he's the believer now, huh?
I don't know what that energy that me and Dave like are seeing is. I mean, he had the name for it, but I've never seen it inside. And when I
You mean
sat and
the bevel
focused,
there?
yeah,
Think of
and
a...
I never even thought that was anything. I thought that was just something, my eyes playing tricks on me till he explained it. But I actually saw it inside, like when I sat and focused. But I'm focusing more a different area where there's actually mirrors, and I think that glass has something to do with picking up energy.
Well, it's mirrors. It's mirrors. Spirits are attracted to mirrors.
Well, then they hit the jackpot in
Yeah,
this
right.
joint.
Yeah, there's mirrors
And
everywhere.
also,
yeah.
all the
And-
energy.
And all the picture
And
frames,
in
the
control
glass.
room, we have 2 giant 8-foot-long mirrors.
Oh, I
in the
didn't even
control
see
room.
that.
Can we shut off all
Very
the
old.
lights for like?
If I do, it'll shut off the
All the
recording
power.
equipment
We'll
because
lose
they're
power.
plugged in.
Hey, I have an idea.
But
Do you have
next-
enough battery
but-
life?
No.
But for the next show, we'll queue up some stuff
Yeah, absolutely.
next time, and maybe when the new album comes out or something.
Sure, I would love that.
And then I can tell you the story about Stranahan.
Stranahan, that sounds
Yeah,
interesting.
The ghost picture, yeah, that I took.
So, wow, that was really intense. Let's take a 30-second break and try to gather ourselves, listen to some music, and we will be right back with the SOS-radio.com podcast. And we're back. We needed to kind of compose ourselves there. We had to take a break. Dave was, he was not himself.
I was. Yeah, that was intense.
That yeah,
We've been to a lot of places, and I've felt some pretty intense feelings, but that was up there.
So
I can't I recall many times where my eyes have teared up and maybe like dripped a little bit here and there,
I
but
don't
that
remember
was like
seeing him dripping. This time,
yeah,
it
that was like
streaming.
straight up like crying,
Yeah,
and that wasn't like me being sad. That was whatever it was that was surrounding me. Like that was like a reaction to whatever was here.
upon you. So while you were composing yourself again, Jory and Mario pulled me over to the side and said something kind of interesting.
Yes, well, while you were outside there, Dave, I told Oscar and I told Jay. I says we didn't say anything, and Joe, that we didn't say anything to Dave yet. But right before you got that feeling, Jory leaned over to me and said,
I said, I sent Casper to you.
that I sent Casper to him. She's pointing, and all of a sudden you started doing that, and we looked at each other and I go, oh.
It worked.
Either
All right.
that or maybe it's telepathy. So
I've
you
done that
gotta-
before too, where you can
gotta-
kind of like focus it on somebody.
and it could be telepathy too. So I mean, just playing the advocate. you
right,
know.
I was getting the ghost hugs.
Well,
Yeah, but I'm just
I don't, Jory. I don't know
Whatever
if you're
Jory did, it
if you're
worked.
kind of in the same camp with me, but for me, I don't believe that whatever this. I don't necessarily think it's a sentient being that understands what, like, because even if it did come from a person and it has some sort of consciousness of a human or whatever, I feel like because it's disembodied and because it doesn't exist on the same plane of reality as we do, that you can't necessarily communicate with it in the same way you would communicate with a person sitting across the table from you.
Oh, yes, you can.
But I feel like when you're talking to it, or when you're not, I don't think you can communicate it with it in a conversational way. I believe it can project like images or thoughts, and
Jory's
vice versa.
shaking her head violently.
But
no.
I feel like when I try to talk to it, I think of it more in the way of talking to a strange dog that you don't know, like that you're walking through an alley and you see a dog and you don't know, and it's not on a leash and there's no one around. You're like, oh, hey, buddy, I'm not going to hurt you. How are you? Where did you come from? Like, and you try, and it's not so much about making the dog relax, but it's about calming yourself down so you don't alarm the dog. It's almost like you're talking to yourself to kind of bring yourself down, to put yourself in a, like, and I that's kind of how I approach the energy that we deal with. Is I try to put myself into a position of kind of balancing my own mindset, so I don't come at it in a violent or angry way to force a reaction.
Remember, though, that ghosts were people. They're people. They're not things.
I
They're not,
don't
they're
necessarily
not,
believe that's 100% true all the time.
Well, that's one
Well,
outlook.
that's- yeah.
I believe. I
what's
mean,
your
I think we
outlook
can all agree that a lot of hauntings are due to people that have passed away. But I have other theories as well that have shown themselves to be possibly true, and that is, I've always said there's three things I believe that this stuff could be. It's either it's energy left over from a living human being that moved on, or it's just energy
locked in energy.
It's energy that came from a living human person's brain at some point. Energy of some kind, soul, if you want to call it that. It's either that. It's a collective energy of living people. For instance, when I go into a movie theater, or into a theater, or into a funeral home, I can feel really intense feelings, but I don't necessarily attribute that to dead people, but all the collective energy of the living people that have been in that space. So when I walk through a funeral home and I feel all this sadness and sorrow and this heavy, heavy energy, am I feeling the energy of the dead people that have been in that building, or am I feeling the energy of all the sorrow and sadness of the living people that have been in that building? And thirdly, could it be an energy-based life form that exists all around us that we just can't see? In the sense of, the way I always like to describe it is like, hundreds of years ago, drop of pond water looked like a drop of pond water, but now that we have the technology and microscopes to look into that pond water, you can see it's teeming with all sorts of microorganisms. And is the air around us and the space around us in the same vein, that there could be hundreds, millions.
Like we're saying, we can see the waves.
Right. Could there be millions of energy-based life forms that live amongst us at all times that we can't see or experience or feel because they aren't a physical form? They're just...
Well, it's a different dimension. They're in different dimensions.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You can't see radio waves, but they're there.
Right, and you can't see infrared light, you can't see ultraviolet light, but it's there.
But when you can have communication with somebody that's died, where you're actually having something happen. I mean, a friend of mine's mother passed away, and I happened to be at her side when she left. Okay? And right before she went, and she was unconscious, and I said who I was, that I was there, and she flickered her eyelids. And I said to her, I said, because she was leaving, she was going and she's leaving her daughter, her only daughter, a friend of mine. And I said to her, I said, when you pass over, I said, give my friend a sign that you're okay on the other side. And I said, but do something that she's going to know that it's you. Okay? So she passed away, and so I would say, after the funeral, I asked my friend, has anything happened yet? No. A couple of days later, she gives me a call. Oh, my God. She gave me the sign. And what it was when her mom was in the hospital, she would, say, oh, I want to put on my favorite show, Wheel of Fortune. It's like on the TV. Put on Channel 7 at 6:30, whatever. Okay. So my friend who, lived with her mother, and there was nobody else there, she went to work, worked all day, came back in the house, back from work, opened the door, TV was on Channel 7, and Wheel of Fortune was on. How do you explain? And it's happened twice already now. And her other favorite program was Dancing with the Stars. She came back one day, and that was on, and that was on. And she says, I never watch these programs. It's never on these channels. So she says, I said, see? She got the message.
There's an intelligence there.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, I mean, I personally believe, a lot of the energy, there is a difference. I mean, you walk in an empty funeral home, you can feel like the sadness. But when you actually witness or, feel a spirit, it's a different feeling.
Kind of like today.
Yeah.
Whatever's here is definitely, I feel that it's probably from a person. Like it feels very...
Or people.
Yeah, and you know that difference.
Well, I think there's
so
only. I think it's one right now. I don't.
Right now,
I don't
okay.
sense two. I only sense the one.
Well, this has been my theory all along, is whatever this energy is, whether it came from a living person or is a collective energy or is a life form that we have not been able to explain, on whatever it is, it obviously is working on the same wavelength as the human brain. It's kind of has the same neurochemical energy as a living human mind.
That wave that we see, I think that's their air. Where you know what I'm saying?
The aura.
Well,
kind of.
I think that's what we're getting pictures of. When we get the mist, that's what we're getting pictures of. That's what the camera sees, but we can't see.
I think that the waves and that kind of like that heat, like the waves that we see.
Beveled air. Call it beveled air. That's what it's called.
All right, the beveled air. I think that's what traps that
Today I'm reading
energy.
Rainbow.
Like that's their air.
When you see the beveled air, that's the actual energy that you're looking at.
Yeah.
The same stuff that we get pictures of.
Yeah,
but my point is that I don't even remember where I was at now.
About being an intelligent, human being
same
that
wavelength.
passed on. On the same
so
wavelength.
in some respect, it's on the same wavelength as the human mind. So this is my theory: is that when you see, experience, hear sounds, see images associated with a haunting, when you see, for instance, a woman in white, are you seeing the ghost of the person that died, or are you seeing the memories of the person that died projected onto you? For instance, almost like if you think of the three main ghosts that people see in America, anyways, there's the woman in white has got to be like at the top of the list. The woman in white, the old man in the suit with the briefcase going off to work, and children, always the creepy children, laughter and sounds of children playing and things like that. Now, if you think of the three top memories in somebody's life when their life is passing before their eyes or they're about to die or whatever, what are the things that they're going to remember? They're going to remember their wedding day. They're going to remember their father. They're going to remember their children. So these three images that are very prevalent in American hauntings, I believe, are not necessarily the ghosts of women and children and old men, but they are the prevalent memories of the person that has passed on that are being projected throughout the energy. So when you come in contact with the energy that's working on the same wavelength as the human brain, there's this kind of DNA code of once living person's memories wrapped up in that, and your brain can decode some of that, and that's why you hear and see and feel things that are associated.
But if you have actual physical things that happen,
right?
You know, like lights turning on, TVs turning on.
But I feel like a lot of that could be manifested through you as well, like poltergeist theory. In almost all cases, when there's a poltergeist in a house, where telekinesis is happening, there's almost always a teenager or a preteen child in the house. And a lot of people theorize that it is not necessarily a ghost, but it is that child telekinetically moving things and creating violence with their mind without even realizing it.
I just want to say, just how you have fish in water, humans in air, aliens in space, okay? That beveled air, that's, water to a fish, air to humans. That beveled air is that to ghost. And I think that we could see that energy.
But all the beveled air is a distortion in the air that you're seeing.
It's an air or water.
It's because you're
to them.
It's something interfering with the light waves. So when you see that,
I think that's their energy where they could kind of.
But when you see the heat coming off the road, you see the heat coming off the road or the hood of your car, it's because the heat itself is distorting the air.
But see,
it's distorting the light waves.
Some people's brains can see things that other people can't see. So he sees stuff. I mean, I don't. Sometimes I can see the shadow people. Some of that stuff too. But what you're talking about, causing things to happen. My friend walked into the house and the TV was on. She didn't cause that. She's not even psychic.
She could have caused it from outside the house. Well, 5 seconds before she walked in the door.
She didn't even think about it. She's totally no psychic.
Well, that's the thing with.
But she wasn't even. She didn't
with poltergeist activity, the person
know.
responsible is never aware of it, because in a lot of poltergeist, this just blinked again. In a lot of poltergeist,
she's not a child though.
In a lot of poltergeist scenarios, when the people move out of the house and do a new house, that same energy comes with them because it's attached to a person, and it might actually be coming from that person, not from the house.
There are poltergeists, though.
Well, this seems like it's going to be a topic for a different podcast. This is going to go on for a long time. Yeah. I do want to bring it back to Riverpool Studios when we were on break, composing ourselves from the events that took place. You were mentioning that the spirits here, the energy here, if it doesn't like something you've recorded, what happens?
It erases it when we're recording.
Or it will change the effect that we have on a particular a vocal or an instrument.
We have vocal effect box
to its own
has,
liking.
Has like digital numbers.
It just puts auto-tune on everything?
We don't have auto-tune.
We don't do that.
We don't need it.
The Pond
it's all about auto-tune and wah-wah.
All right, hold on. Let him finish. We're running out of time.
Yeah, but we have a vocal effect box. It's sometimes like a little reverb, something like that, and it has digital numbers. And we'll set it, and we can sit there and look at it, and the thing will change. Or sometimes it won't change, but when we record whatever it is and we listen to it and it wasn't the effect we wanted, we see that the box has changed again.
Absolutely. Case in point, very beginning of our song, Dreaming Over Ireland, it starts off with a chorus and going, I, and we definitely had a long delay and reverb on it. Set, long delay, reverb, boom. We recorded it, long delay, reverb.
Yeah.
Correct? Okay. We played it back. It was telephone. Just like the telephone.
Like Beck. The Beck voice, kind of like that.
And I go,
which we
don't
even know how to get that effect on that box. I'm telling you, we have no idea.
That's the one.
But it sounded great.
That is the sound.
And inside of that...
So it changed it for the better.
It changed it, and it also kind of talked through that part. There's a
voice.
What
did it say?
It's really hard to hear because I haven't figured it out yet, but there's a voice in it. Remember I played that for you?
Is this the one that you
Absolutely.
said it sounds like it's singing along with
No,
you?
no,
that's-
was from the new album.
That's
From the new album.
That's
Okay.
like
And-
2 days ago we found
Coming in the future, we'll get that.
Yeah,
EVP
evidently
as well.
they like to get on our recordings, but that one where it changed the vocal effect. There's an underline, like a talking. I'm going to try and decipher it and try and figure out what it is,
Yeah,
what
let
it's
us know.
saying. And
I'm sure our audience would want to know.
Yeah, yeah.
So, just to bring this thing to a close, Riverpool Studios here with the Pond Hawks. We want to thank them for letting us record this podcast here in their haunted location. Listeners wanted to pick up past music. Could they find you on iTunes? How could they find you?
Yeah, we're on
Do you have a
iTunes.
website?
Follow the trail of breadcrumbs.
Yeah.
So
iTunes, Amazon.com, CD Baby,
On
Spotify,
iTunes,
Pandora, Spotify, Pond Hawks,
Go on Facebook.
Pandhawks.com.
Facebook.com, the Pond Hawks, and like us. And,
So find
Netscape.blogspot.net.
find
remember
Pond
that's-
Hawks on Facebook.
And
Yeah.
or they're
Or
going to
ReverbNation.com.
And information on the Pond
All
Hawks
of those.
will be in this
right now,
podcast.
give you my
number
cell
one
phone
in
number.
They will be in this
Chicago.
podcast show notes,
Yeah.
so you can find that as well.
Yeah, or www.pondhawks.com.
www.pondhawks.com.
It's like pond and hawk.
PONDHAWKS.
We're also on that new merger thing, YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook merged together now.
Okay.
It's called U-Twitface.
Yeah.
It's going to be called, and we'll be on that.
Curb the swearing.
Again, I want to thank you for letting us be here. I do have
Well, thank
some.
you for having us.
My pleasure. I can't wait to have you guys again.
Thank Casper.
Thank you, Casper.
Thank you, Casper. Whoever you are.
Yeah, thanks for making me.
I do have.
Thanks for making me cry like a
I
little
do
girl.
have one thing I want to mention. Some really exciting news for us. We just released a downloadable app to complement our website and this podcast on Google Play and on the Amazon App Store. And it's going to be in 2 weeks on the iOS App Store, Apple App Store as well. Just search Supernatural Occurrence Studies on Google Play, Amazon App Store, and in 2 weeks on the Apple App Store as well.
And that's 2 C's, 2 R's in Occurrence.
OCCURRENCE. That's right. So you could find us. You could download us too. We send you push notifications, let you know when shows are being recorded, and you can correspond with us live and interact with us on the podcast. So check us out, Google Play and Amazon App Store, and soon to be the iOS Store. With that in mind, anyone have any closing thoughts?
Probably not going to sleep very well tonight.
Yeah, that was intense for you. Okay, Joe, take us home.
All right, thanks a lot for listening, guys. If you want to contact us, you could always visit us online at www.sos-radio.com. You could email the hosts at submissions@sos-radio.com. Call us at Chicago area code 872-529-0SOS. 872-529-0767. Follow us on Twitter at Chicago Ghosts. Follow Jason, SOS-Radio, Nhyte, on Facebook. That's Nhyte, Nhyte. Follow Jason Nhyte on Google+. Again, that's Nhyte, Nhyte.
As always, kind listeners, keep your head up, eyes open, and question everything.
You want to save your soul from hell, arriving on our range. Cowboy, change your ways today. Oh, with us you will ride. Ride back to the devil's herd.